Welcome back to another episode of the Real Life with Christ podcast. I do appreciate y'all tuning in. I know it's been a little bit of a while since we put something out, but I do have the pleasure of another co-host. We've tried to slide in a couple of new people every once in a while, and Mr. Matt Whitehead, I do appreciate you taking time out and actually kind of forcing me to get back into it, so I do appreciate the push.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad to be back. New space, which is really cool.
Yeah, you hadn't been over into this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen it, but I've not. Yeah, I've been in here for
a part of it.
Yeah,
I got
it's
you.
really cool.
I got you. Well, you were the one that suggested this, and we'll go ahead and put it back in, and we'll go ahead and get started on the two truths and a lie.
Yeah, I know how much you love icebreakers.
I don't.
You love them. So forcibly.
Yes.
Forcibly love them. So yes, two truths, one lie.
Yeah.
Both of us have written down 3 statements about ourselves.
Correct.
Presumably that either of us don't know about each other.
And with my illustrious career of putting my foot in my mouth, there's not a lot that people do not know about me.
So hopefully these I've not heard.
Okay.
And hopefully these you've not heard about me either.
Okay.
So 2 truths, 1 lie. We will try to determine what each other's lie is.
Yes.
So do you want to go first?
No, it's yours.
want me to go
so I
first?
want you to go first.
Okay. So in no order, the lie is not first.
And wink. Thank you for helping me.
2 truths, 1 lie. So number 1, I was once detained and almost arrested in Miami airport. Number 2, I once toured the studio and was able to play the piano that was used in the original recording of Faithfully by Journey. And then number 3, I can solve a Rubik's Cube in under 30 seconds. So going back through them. Number 1, I was once detained and almost arrested in Miami airport. Number 2, I once toured the studio and was able to play the piano that was used in the original recording of Faithfully by Journey.
I think that's the lie.
And then I can solve a Rubik's Cube in under 30 seconds. You think
the Journey piano, I think that was a lie.
You do?
Yeah.
You know me better than I thought you did, because that is the lie.
Really?
Yes.
I just, for some odd reason, I have a vague memory of, and this is an odd statement to say, I spent more time hanging out with your wife than I have you, because we're on a board of directors together. So just, I always have a bad tendency of pausing at the wrong time. So I tried to spit that statement out there.
Yeah.
And for some odd reason, we've talked about Rubik's Cubes. And
darn.
Yeah, I don't know why, but as soon as you said that, I was like, I know he can do that.
Yeah, I can. My fastest time is 20 seconds.
Really?
Yeah.
That is a unique skill?
Yeah. Around high school, I was averaging 30 to 35 seconds. So I can still do it.
Now, is it just the simple, like, what is it, like the spin it left, spin it top, and then spin it, like, is it like the little system?
Like the like the algorithms and stuff?
Yeah, the algorithm.
I know several of
Okay.
the I don't know them all, but yeah.
I got you.
And then, yes, I was also almost detained. I was detained and almost arrested in Miami airport. Yeah.
Like a heathen.
Yeah, I had tried to bring long story short, I tried to bring a machete through the gate to get like to the terminal, and it was my mom and me.
Yeah.
And if you know my mom, the sweetest soul ever, wouldn't hurt a fly.
Yeah.
Me and her both went through security with that machete.
Yeah.
Unknowingly, it's a long story, but we were told to go there. And then, sure enough, they had 9 or 10 agents or like security, TSA around us. The leader came out. Mom and I are both in tears crying.
How old were you?
I was 15.
I was about to say, because and I do not mean this in a negative way whatsoever,
course.
But if you had a little bit more of a tan and you have a dark facial hair, I'm just saying you fit the bill.
Yes, exactly.
You could fit the bill. You could fit in. I'm just saying.
Thankfully, at the time, no beard.
Yes.
I was 15.
Baby face.
I was baby face.
I don't believe that. No beard at 15.
It was...
More beard than I got now?
No. If anything, it was all under here. It was all a neck beard. So.
Like I forgot. That's the new style, though. The old friar tuck.
I'm still not about it.
No, absolutely not. That's funny. So I guess it's my turn.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
And these are odd. So this one, you're going to think it's probably true, but I'm going to put a little caveat on the end of it.
Okay.
All right. So I have been shot at in America. Okay. That's the first one. I was an honor student when I graduated high school, and then I was once on an all-star soccer team.
So you've been Shot at in America.
In America, because that would be too easy to say.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
You were on an all-star soccer team, or you were an honor student when you graduated high school. I honestly think it's the soccer team.
Really?
I think it is.
I have bamboozled you.
Oh, no.
I, in fact, was not an honor student when I graduated high school. I did not value education like I did.
You know, I thought that was too easy of a grab.
Yeah.
That's the one I was gravitating towards. Because I was like, I feel like Jonathan would have been the
partier?
Yeah.
The partier,
right, yeah.
Oh, me.
I didn't want to assume anything.
So, let's see. I played soccer up until, I don't know, 8th grade or so. And I was on a soccer team, an all-star soccer team with Rec League. We actually put together a team, and we got 4th place at a tournament here in Scottsboro.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Out of 4 teams.
Oh, well, you don't have to preface that, right? You were one away from podium.
That's it. And we actually had a trophy there at the Rec Com, and that sucker was probably 4 foot tall.
Really?
Like, it was massive for 4th place. And I was like, okay, that'll work. No, that was a good little icebreaker. That was a good one. So, I know it's been a while, and we're getting back into, doing the podcast. And so bringing you on as the co-host today, I would like to interview you.
Okay.
We interviewed you previously, and that was kind of when we were starting out, and I don't feel like we did your journey, your life justice.
Sure.
I feel like we kind of may have cut you off a little early, and there's a couple others that I feel like we've done the same thing. We need to reinvest in, and I just think it'd be a good time to kind of re-go over the story and just walk through and kind of see where you're at now and what you're doing, and we can give a little bit of an update about your new official title.
It is new and official as of yesterday, actually
as of this Sunday,
this coming Sunday. Yeah. Yes, sorry.
It'll be all right. Yeah. We'll give it to you. But no, Matt, just go ahead. Where were you born and raised?
Yeah, I was born right here, Scottsboro, Alabama. To my mom and dad, Rick and Karen. We lived in the same house up until I graduated high school. We started Agape back in 2000.
Okay.
So we weren't charter members, but we were close.
Pretty close.
It was close.
Gotcha. Was your mom and dad always in church growing up?
As far as I've known, yes. There was, my mom and dad waited, it was 10 and a half, almost 11 years before they had me.
Okay.
And during most of that time, they were not in church.
I got you.
By any stretch of the imagination. They've told me stories here and there of things they used to do. My dad was in a country rock band. He drank all the time, smoked all the time. Mom was in the same scene. They kind of went with that crowd.
Yeah, absolutely.
And dad had his transformation. He came to know the Lord in, I think it was 92.
Okay.
92, 93. He'd be able to tell you better. And mom, shortly thereafter, my mom grew up in church, but then strayed. My dad never really he was hit or miss, and then by the time he was 13, he was already drinking.
And I think that's kind of a little bit why I gravitate towards your dad on some things, because we have a lot of the same backstory. And I think me and you both would do it an injustice to try to tell his testimony.
Right. I'm not trying to tell his story.
No, absolutely not.
It does play into mine as his son. But yeah, he 92, 93 is when they came to know the Lord, and then I was born in 95.
Okay.
So as far as I've known, we've been in church every Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. If the doors were open, we were there, and my mom's the custodian, so I'm here through the week helping her clean too. So
Absolutely.
And my dad, he was ordained as a deacon. I think it was somewhere in the mid 2000s, like 2004, 2005, in that era. And so he's been a deacon at Agape since. Now we have like the rotating deacon. So but he just got reelected again with you, by the way. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you very much. Yeah. Like I told y'all, it's not something, I necessarily petitioned for or campaigned for, but it's awesome to have the love and the support of the church and the people in the church, and for them to think of me at that level. It means a lot. And it's motivation to keep going.
It is.
And to keep sharing, because these things like me and you, we've talked privately and I've talked a lot on the podcast. Like, some of these things are very difficult to disclose. It's not necessarily arguments at home, but these things, they're very contentious subjects at times.
Yeah.
So, but getting back to you, you're now big. You're the music director for North Jackson.
Yes, band director, music director.
Yes,
director of bands, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. You're the band guy, the main guy,
the music man.
At the music man, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Has of course, you said your dad was in a band your entire time growing up. How much did music play into your early childhood and development?
Yeah. I mean, a mom would tell stories of me jumping around in her belly during music service on Sundays.
That's awesome.
So I was listening to music up to 9 months before I was born.
Yeah.
After my dad came to know the Lord, he tried to continue on with the country rock band. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
He then started touring with country gospel, bluegrass groups. So even when up until I was about, I don't know, probably 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there, he was with a group every other weekend, traveling. Music has always been a cornerstone in my life.
Yeah.
It was always like, we go to church, we go bowling, or we're playing music. Or for my dad, it was golf or bowling. But for me, it was more bowling than golf. But
I started keep going back to your dad. Like, it was always, he was, I don't want to say odd, but he was very good at the oddest of sports.
Right, yes.
Like, it's just the sports like darts, bowling. Like, you see people pool.
He's good at pool.
Yeah, like, of course, like you said, though, he was a country rock band. Like, they were in the bars. I mean, that's where you get good at those things.
Yep.
But we'll go back. And so how was adolescence growing up? What things do you remember about that? Like, how big was church involved?
All of my best memories were probably made at church.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for that. I knew we didn't take vacations around Sundays because we had to be at church. And it was, it's my whole upbringing was, we're going to be at church. That's what we do. And I think my parents fully embodied the train up a child in the way he should go. And when he's older, he will not depart from it.
Yes.
They will not.
Yeah.
I'm adding he for me, but I think they fully encompass that. And I'm an only child. Mm-hmm. It's just me. And my parents provided for me in that way. I always said I was spoiled.
I was about to say it. I'll go ahead and say you're spoiled.
I was, and I still am. I very much still am. I recognize that. And I'm eternally grateful for my parents and for the Lord blessing us in that way. Mm-hmm. And my parents always made a point to, if I had friends who were not as well off as we were or needed things, we were helping friends, my friends and families all the time. And that set up such a good foundation for me now that I'm able to do that with my son. I'm like, hey, we give back. We do these things. We go to church. I'm building that foundation for him because of the foundation I had built.
Yeah.
And I think that's everything. That's
absolutely. And
as a father,
me and you have talked about it. I'm going back to school to get my master's in clinical mental health. And one of the things I've always thought about is what you see is how you develop. Your environment does a major portion of how you wind up.
Like nurture over nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could have a long, drawn-out discussion about it. But at some point, your environment, what you are seeing continually, it has an impression on you. What you are bringing into your brain, what you're hearing through your ears, what you're seeing, those things have an impression. Now, they can be either, hey, I don't want to do that, and I do 100% the opposite, or hey, I like what I see, I'm going to continue doing that. And when you have parents that are in church and that are in the Word and are walking with Christ, same thing. You can either, hey, I really like that and I want to continue to do it, or hey, I don't want that quote unquote control or anything like that. I'm not going to do it. And there's a fine line there, I believe. But your life and my life, hey, we saw what we liked our parents doing, and we continue to do them, and we had different walks. But so as you were growing up, of course, you're getting into teenage years and everything like that. At what point did you understand kind of the thought process of knowing Jesus, of being saved? Like, at what age did that happen?
It was we had a VBS, I think it was around 2009.
Okay.
2009 or 10. The years are fuzzy. That's when I had my salvation experience was. That's when I gave my life over to Christ. I said, I surrender. My life is yours. Yeah. Now, I had gotten saved, I put that in air quotes, when I was 5. Okay. And I don't think I know I didn't fully understand it then. But, you're around church. You see people do it, go up to the altar. And I happened to tell Dad, I was sitting next to him, and there was the altar call. And I said, Dad, I think I need to be saved, when I was 5. And I remember going back to the back room, and I'm sure they talked to me about it. And my dad was... he was in tears. I've seen my dad cry 3 times in my life, and that was one of them. And knew what was happening, but I didn't.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And so fast forward, that would have been, 2000, 2001. Fast forward a little ways to 2005 or 6 or 9 or 10, and I'm sitting in the youth group. We had a VBS, but at that time the youth did a separate VBS every night. It wasn't called VBS. It was just summer Bible school. I forget.
Yeah.
It was geared more towards the youth, and it was Clay Weed was our youth pastor at that time. I guess you never
met him.
Yeah,
no.
Wonderful man, great family, love them to death. He was on stage up here. And we were all sitting out there, and he said, I need you to picture something right fast. And he was talking to the whole group, but I swear he was talking right to me.
Yeah.
And he said, if you got in your car tonight and you were to go out to the stop sign and you were to pull out on 72 and a semi-truck hits you and you die, where are you going? And I get chills thinking about it now because, I was in that seat. I was like, I'm not going to heaven.
Yeah.
I know I have to do something about this. And I went home that night. I talked to Clay some that night, and was just in shambles. And he was like, hey, you have really good parents. Once again, great parents. He said, go home, talk to your parents, and then they'll be able to help you from there. So I went home. I received Christ as my Savior in my living room with my mom on one side, my dad on the other.
That's
praying
awesome.
For me. And I prayed with them. And I knew from that moment on I was saved.
Yeah.
I was changed.
And in that point of being saved, I like to jump into this. Did you have to do any little special dance or say any special incantation or anything crazy like that?
And I've heard, I did not, but I've heard other stories of people. I think it's Ryan always tells his story. He said, I was saved when I stepped out of the altar. I was saved when I stayed back and talked to Clay.
Yeah.
I know I was.
I like to just point that out.
I didn't have to in nomine patre fili. Nothing. Whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I just like to point that out because people get into the, what's the word I'm looking for?
Semantics,
maybe? Semantics or whatever. Oh, you've got to do this to be saved. You've got to do this to be saved. No, you have to believe in your heart and confess with your tongue. And if it's true, it's true. You'll be different.
Yeah.
You'll be a whole new creature.
And I was. And I still am.
And that's awesome.
At that point.
It's awesome. And after that point, just life was easy and it was just fantastic. And that's the end of the podcast because life can't get no better.
All right. Play the outro. Yeah. I would like to say that. Yeah. I think we all would rather, if we could go back in time and maybe undo some mistakes, we would, but that wouldn't make us the person we are today.
Correct.
And, through my high school years, maybe so. Looking back, hindsight's 20/20. High school was the time of my life. Quote unquote time of my life. I had it easy. I had a good family. I didn't have to worry about much. I got really complacent, really comfortable.
Yeah.
And decided that I was going to go to Jacksonville State University for my bachelor's degree. And I graduated high school. I was in the top 10%. I was smart. I got a really good scholarship to go to JSU, full ride scholarship. So I go there and I'm a music ed major. I'm doing all the things. And then my second year, I decided to join a fraternity.
Yeah.
And I am appreciative of some aspects of my fraternity. And then the other aspects of it is not all based around it, but just the people you're around, right? My wife and I have had this conversation several times. It's when you're without bills, when you're without having to worry about where your next meal comes from, where you're having to worry about gas in your car, you're having to worry about all of these different things, you start being able to worry about, the hot take items of the world, right? Yeah. And so
the quote unquote fun stuff.
Right. Yeah. And so I got really far off from my upbringing. I can say that now. And I started dabbling in things I never should have. I started believing ideals that I didn't even think was true.
Yeah.
That's what everybody else was doing. So why not? I started believing that I was I forget what I said. I think I said I was agnostic. Where I believe that there is a God, but that he has no control over me. And how silly does that sound now? But it's just, you get in that atmosphere and it consumes you. And I didn't know. I didn't think there was a way out. It's hard to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it was such a dark time. Looking back, it was such a dark time in my life. And now I loved college, and I would go back and do college again, definitely if I could redo, and think differently. But during my college times, I met a girl. We started dating. We got engaged my senior year. She had just graduated and I was about to graduate. So our senior years respectively. I did 4.5 years. She did 4. And
so you were an honor student like me. It took a little extra time.
Well, just because kidding. My internship, I had to do an internship, and so I had to the music ed course is wild. I was taking 15 to 18 hours a semester, and it was wild. On top of that, I was marching, and then I was doing concerts, recitals, the whole thing. I loved it. I absolutely love it.
I was trying to be funny there.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
Just being me. I'm a nerd. I'm a music nerd specifically. If you know me, I'm a music nerd. They call me I don't want to get the podcast censored, but
no, don't do it.
Yeah,
never
mind.
Don't do it.
They call me Master Matt. Let's go with that. They do call me Master Matt when I'm leading music on stage.
That's
so. They call him Dr. J, Dr. Ryan, Master Matt. So we're if he's playing bass, we're off in our corner, But anyway, so it comes to my senior year. I've been dating this girl. We get engaged. She moves to Tallahassee to attend Florida State University, and I thought that I also wanted to go and get a master's degree from Florida State. I was going to teach. My long-term goal, music nerd, was to teach music theory. Okay. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get a master's and a doctorate degree in music theory.
Explain, hey, we had a little caveat here.
Okay, sure.
Pivot here. Mm-hmm. What is music theory?
It's basically how music works. So
how does music work?
So how you have...
We've got a time limit though, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's a time limit. That's a tough question, right? Because the PhD I would have gotten was in the philosophy of music. Okay. Yeah. How could you even have a PhD in that? But I love it. Basically, it's analyzing music for music theory. The degrees I was going to get would be analyzing music for chord structures, intervals, phrasings, things like that, understanding the works of said composers and things like that. It's basically how music ticks.
I think, is that not what Janice has?
She loves music theory too.
Yeah.
She does, and Janice, please don't, if I'm wrong.
I thought she had a degree.
I don't think she has a degree in music theory, but we both love music theory.
I know she's like classically trained.
She is. Yeah, she has a music. Oh, Janice, you're going to kill me when you hear this. I'm so sorry.
That's my favorite part about a podcast is getting people in trouble.
Open mouth, insert foot. That's the.
That is the motto.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I apologize. Going back to you were going to get a PhD or
that's what I thought.
Master's.
That's what I thought I was going to do. And
best laid plans
of mice and men. Yes, I say that all the time. You can ask my wife next time you see her. So yes, I was going to move to and I did. I graduated in December of 2017 from JSU, special honors in music. I was doing the thing. Yeah, and I moved to Tallahassee, Florida in January of 2018. And I was going to, I missed the deadline. Some things worked out. I didn't quite get applied for Florida State in the spring. Mm-hmm. And then, or maybe I did. I can't remember. Anyway, long story short, I didn't go to school that spring semester. And it was a lot harder to get in that time. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to wait, have some time, and then I'll apply in the fall. Yeah. I applied. I heard back real early. This was the Lord's provision. I heard back real early that I was not accepted into Florida State. And I was like, oh, well, everything else has worked, in my small mind that I had at the time. Everything else has worked at this point. I went to the undergraduate school I wanted to. I started dating this girl who presumably I love and we're going to get married. And then I graduated and then I was going to do this. And what's happening, Yeah. And it led me down a hole of, I guess I'll just get married and I'll find a corporate job. Because at the time, I did not want to be a band director. Yeah. I thought that was going to be the most appalling job that I could have as a haughty music.
I've got all these degrees.
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
Beneath me.
Right.
Yeah.
Here I am. Anyway, it's just, now I look back on it, it's so funny the way I was thinking when I was prefrontal lobe developing. And so long story short, over that summer, I start looking for jobs. I was like, okay, because at the time I was serving at Olive Garden with a whole bachelor's degree. I was serving tables at Olive Garden in Tallahassee,
that on them big
Florida.
Jobs.
Yes, I know, right? I was making the money. Which honestly, though, it was a great schedule. I loved it. It was fun. Dude. I didn't have any other bills to pay. So everything was paid for. And it was just, I worked 4 hours for like 4 days a week.
Dude, unlimited breadsticks and salads.
It gets old. It does get old.
Do you know
who the best cook at Olive Garden is? The microwave. So just so you know, the soups though are handmade. The soups are wonderful.
Don't put a damper on my love for the Olive Garden.
My wife loves Olive Garden.
I love it, man.
She begs to go to Olive Garden. So we go every now and then but the Alfredo's okay. I'm just kidding.
I'm a Parmesan chicken kind of guy.
Oh, it's good too. It gives me such bad heartburn. I sound so old saying that, but dude, I can't eat it anymore.
A little caveat off this. I'm big into diving now. We'll say air quote big into diving. I really enjoy it. So we're all down at the dive park the other day, and one of the instructors talking about his favorite snacks, and he says, I like to take the hot sauce beanie weenies and put them on a plate and like pour the juice over it and put a cracker in the juice. And whenever you get done eating all the beanie weenies, you take that cracker that's been sopped up and all the stuff, and you eat that cracker. And I was like, that's like the redneck version of the fancy Italian places. You know, you got the oil in the bread. Like, that is the redneck version of that.
It literally is.
And I had everybody cracking up. I was like, I've never made that connection. Like, leave it to Jonathan.
Maybe Americanized or Southern Americanized version.
You're right.
You're right.
That is the most politically correct word I can say. So
that's great.
And this is me coming from me. White trash.
Yeah.
But
that's funny.
So we're at the Olive Garden working.
Yeah, and I'm started looking for jobs. I found a small corporate, or I say small. It was a corporate job in South Alabama. So her family was from that area, Baldwin County, and so I move over to Baldwin County. And I start working this corporate job. And I mean, I'm a music major, right? I am not built for sales. I can say that now. My delusional mind thought that I was.
I'm a sales rep and I'm not built for sales.
That's fair. I think it all depends on what you're selling. Yeah. But I was working at, it's called TQL, Total Quality Logistics, and they do brokerage. I was a broker. Okay. I'm not good at it. Cut to the end of the story. I lasted 10 months and then I was out. So
I'm done, son.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm working this corporate job, and I'm like, okay, I have a salary now. I'm living, 5.5 hours away from my family still. Is comparable to Tallahassee and everything. And I was like, I'm making it. I'm doing good. Her mom was going to sell us their extra house that she had been renting out for a while. So I moved into that house, and everything was peachy. And the wedding was supposed to be in June of 2019. It was like, I forget the day. And it was like the 1st of June, though. Yeah. And it was supposed to be the 1st of June. In March, she comes home for spring break. This is 2 months for the wedding, 3 months for the wedding. Yeah. She comes home she was still at Tallahassee finishing up. Okay. And she says, hey, I don't want to go into details of it. Yeah, but she was like, hey, I think I'm not ready to be married. Mind you, we had been engaged almost 2 years at this point, like 1.5 years. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so what are we going to do? And she's like, let's just keep pushing forward. Let's, try to make it happen. I just don't know yet. I said, okay. Well, then we are in her mom's house. This is late April. In her mom's house, signing invitations. I am addressing invitations, putting stamps on them and putting to the side. And she all of a sudden just goes, Mom, I want to postpone the wedding. I don't want to do it. And I'm like, okay, this is happening, and her mom was supportive, as all moms would be. And she's like, okay, well, is everything okay? What's wrong? And we kind of talked about that at the time, but a little bit of a backstory for me, because I have such a great family and because I have such a great mom and dad, I always wanted to have a great family. I wanted to be the father. I wanted to be the husband. I wanted to have an awesome family. Yeah. And in front of me is that just melting away. Yeah. Another side note is she was always anti-kids. She never wanted kids. And so because I was around it so much, I started saying, oh, I never want kids. I don't want a kid. Yeah. And so here I am, kidless, not going to get married, and everything. I'm 5.5 hours away from my family.
And at this point, we had mentioned that your faith had dwindled a little.
Yes, I would not have called myself a Christian at that time. Okay. I was going to church. I went to a Methodist church when I was down south, and I sang in the choir because they paid me. Yeah. And because her mom went there.
I got
And so I would not call myself very faithful. Did I find, and this is where, train up a child, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. Several times during this, when I was, and I'll get to this in a second, I was severely depressed. Several times during this, I found myself, why, God? Why? I was asking God, even though I was like, God's there. He's not really in control, right? It's me. I'm selfish. I can do this on my own. But now I'm sitting here on my last limb, and I'm saying, why, God? Why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
And I heard no answer. Shocking. Wow, God, I've done, not that you don't deserve things, or right, but what have I done for God to give it and let him give me an answer? That's kind of how I feel looking back. But yeah, so we postponed the wedding, even though dress, caterer, venue, invitations, everything was already bought. And so she gets done with college. That was late April. So she gets done early May with college, moves back here. And during that summer, Allison Vernon she's always been like a sister to me.
Yeah.
Like our families are super close. Like I call her my older sister.
She terrifies me.
No, she's a softie.
She's got like the listen now. I'm like, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Well, okay. That's fair. She does have that. I will say, I can see that side of her. I have a different approach to her because she is like my sister.
I got you.
I hadn't talked to her. At that point, it may have been 5 to 6 to 7 years. It had been a while. She may have called me when I graduated college, but even still, it was a while.
Yeah.
And she just randomly calls me in the middle of July and says, hey. I was like, hey. She's like, hey, I want you to know the band director position at North Jackson is come open. The director's not staying, and they need to hire a director soon. And I said, okay. And she was like, I didn't know if y'all had planned on you wanting a job or moving back up here or whatever. And I was like, well, we're not really getting married. I hadn't really told you. I was embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. I was like, I haven't really told anybody about this, but I was like, I'll consider it. I'm not really interested. At my point, I was still delusional. I'm like, I've got my family here. I've got
this job at the Olive Garden, bro.
Well, no, at this point, I was at my corporate job.
That's right. I'm at the corporate. Yeah,
I was at my corporate job.
Sorry.
The TQL job.
I'm hung up on the Olive Garden, dude.
That's
I'm hungry.
Yeah, I feel you.
Just kidding.
Can we get a DoorDash?
If you're waiting for the hired help, I am the hired help.
That's right. So, I had my corporate job, and I was like, I'm down here. I have a house. I'm whatever. And she was like, okay, well, just pray about it and see. And I went in there and told my, whatever I called her at the time, the fiance, whatever, right? Yeah. And I was like, that was weird. I hadn't talked to her because she knew Allison. She had met her because when she had came up here and stuff, I was like, I don't know why she would call me and tell me that. And she's like, I don't either. So we went out to eat that night. We were just kind of having like a date night, if you can call it that. Come back that night, and she's like, hey, I seriously want you to, my fiance was like, hey, I seriously want you to consider applying for that job. I really think you should. And I was like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. Why? We don't want to move. And she was like, I'm not going to move. You need to apply for it. I was like, what are you saying? Right. And so then we had the conversation. She's like, look, you want different things than I want. She was so mature for this. And I have no ill feelings, nothing. I'm not trying to call her out or anything. She was like, look, you obviously want different things than me. So I think we just need to part ways. You need to apply for that job, and then you need to move back home. I was like, oh, okay. So that's where this is going.
Very well then.
So the next day, I went into my corporate job, and or I called my mom and dad and told them what had happened. I was like, I'm ready to come home. And I'll get emotional talking about this. My mom and dad dropped everything they had. They got one of our friends' 20 to 25 foot trailer.
Yeah.
He pulled it all the way down to South Alabama, packed up all my stuff with me, and pulled it all the way back and never asked a question.
That's what dads are for.
Mom and dad, both of them. Yeah. They all came down here and did it.
Yeah.
Man. And, but I told him I was ready to come home. I was going to apply for this job, and we'll see how it's going. So what had happened is the band director at the time had quit the first week of band camp. He had came in day one of band camp, said, hey, I'm quitting. I'm taking my show. Good luck. And so the seniors at that time had called the old retired band director and was like, hey, will you help us? And so they were frantically trying to get somebody hired. I applied on, I forget the exact days, but I applied on like a Wednesday. I got the call Thursday that I could get an interview. So I drove let's see. It would have been Thursday night after I got the call and set up everything. I drove home 5.5 hours. I had the interview the next day at 12 noon. So that was Friday.
Yeah.
I drove back to South Alabama that afternoon. Saturday morning, I wake up from a call from Josh Harding saying, hey, I want you to have the job. It's yours.
Wow.
I packed up all of my stuff Saturday night into Sunday. My mom and dad picked me up. We drove back home Monday morning. Tuesday, I was just reeling from everything. And then Wednesday, I started school. Wow. So within a week, my life flipped. And on its head.
Yeah.
Everything that I said I was never going to do I never was going to move back home. That was one thing I was never going to do. And now I'm living with my mom and dad. I was never going to be a band director. And I'm now teaching in the same county I grew up in.
Yeah. And
God was just, in his sense of humor way, it was like, oh, really? You're not going to do all of that? Here's exactly all of that. And it's just, at the time I was a little bitter.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, what is this? Why have I been given this opportunity? Why am I here?
Yeah.
And I was still very much not in Christ. I was still kind of living my own way. Even after I moved back here for a little bit, Mom was still trying to get me to come back to church. And I was like, I don't want to. It was embarrassing to come back to Agape.
Yeah.
Because everybody here knows me. We've been going here now 20 years. And it's like, everybody's going to ask, what am I doing? How are you? Blah, 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 blah. Not to speak ill of anybody at Agape. I want to emphasize, I appreciate everybody asking those questions. But for me, it was embarrassing at the time.
At that time in your mind, it was them like pity tripping and like they're only really asking because either A, they're nosy or B, they want to like, oh, I'm sorry. And I've come to learn this. That is not the truth.
It's not.
If I've ever went through anything bad during the time that I've been a member here, it is out of honest love.
It is. And I know that now.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying, please don't think I'm speaking ill to anybody at Agape. I'm very appreciative of everybody who's ever checked in on me. I've had, just give a quick shout out if she's listening, Miss Kathy Thompson. She's told me, she said, I prayed for you. If not every day, every week, she would pray for us while I was gone at college from 2013 to probably when I came back. And I'm sure she still prays for me.
Yeah.
And I'm appreciative of people like that who took the time and invested in my life even when I didn't want it. I didn't want that investment. I wasn't interested in that. And it's just so great to see how God worked things out now, that I was able to come back and do all the things I didn't want to do. I didn't think I was going to do, but he worked them for good. And so my first year of teaching was 2019, 2020.
Okay.
And we all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
So I'm a first year teacher in March of 2020 and the world shuts down. I had a 4-month summer, my first year of teaching. It will never get better than that. I'm going to be honest with you. It will never get better. But over Christmas break that year, I had known Julia at college. She was a freshman in 2015, and that was my last year marching. So we had known each other. We had mutual friends. We never really talked much, but we knew of each other.
Yeah.
Reconnected over the Christmas break of 2019 to 2020. And we started dating, and we got engaged in February of 2020. So okay.
Moving quick.
Not to tell her story either, but to tell our story, we were both coming from places that we were in committed relationships. We were ready to be married. The other person was not.
Yeah.
And so coming out of those and coming together, we were both like, hey, I wanted to get married, but I didn't. And she was like, hey, I wanted to get married, but I didn't. Okay, let's get married, right? It's kind of, that's the super simplified, oversimplified version of that. But we, like I said, started dating in December, late December, as might well have been January. And then we got engaged in February, right after Valentine's Day of 2020. And we made all of these plans. Here I go again, right? I was like, yeah, God, we're going to do this. And then I'm going to get married here. And we're going to go on this awesome honeymoon. And, blah, 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 right? And then maybe one day I'll have a family because she wanted kids, right? Which was awesome. And she has a great family.
Yeah.
Her mom and her dad have been vital to us as well as like as much as my parents have. You know, they were raised in church too. And so I'm like, oh, here we go. This is great. So February 2020, we get engaged. We start making all the plans. We book a venue. We book catering. We book our honeymoon for July of 2020. And we all know nothing happened in July of 2020.
Yeah, no.
Nothing was happening because the world shut down in March, right?
Yeah.
So COVID hits, schools get shut down, businesses get shut down, everything's done. And me and Julia look at each other and we're like, well, what do we wait until July to maybe be able to have a wedding? Because at that point, they weren't letting people congregate.
Yeah.
Like they shut down the churches, everything. They were like,
that is right. Like similar to like when I started church at Agape, we were doing out on the roof.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right at the time I started. And every so often I like, hey, like where was I at in my life whenever you were doing?
Sure.
Because you like, we're all going through life at the same time, but in different places. So I find it interesting. Like, what was I doing when they were doing this? Like me, I was at the house, man. I had just had a fresh little one.
Yeah.
Fresh. And COVID was fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but you got a lot of time with your little one that you may not have gotten if you had to work. Right?
I did work. I worked full time.
No
we
way.
Never stopped.
No way.
Yeah,
were you still at Vulcan? Or?
I was running heavy equipment at Vulcan. We were considered essential personnel because we had material that we make is for infrastructure, for road construction and stuff like that. So I bet you I worked more. I was working 6 days a week. But probably 50 to 60 hours Monday through Friday, and then like 8 hours on Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You got really good pay though.
We'll discuss that.
Yeah.
I am a happy employee of Vulcan Materials.
Sure. No, yeah. I'm just kidding.
No, I am too. Where we're at right here, I was very much the same way.
Yeah.
When I grew up, I wanted to go do the military. I wanted to do some type of special operations. And I told my dad, who has worked at Vulcan for 30 years, come this fall. I remember one night back when I was, indulging in alcoholic beverages, I will never work a mediocre job like construction or like working at Vulcan or like doing this, because I am made to do more. And my made to do more was my own heroics in my brain, whereas now I have the freedom at Vulcan. I meet a lot of people all across this state, believers and non-believers. I get to have conversations. I get to do things like this. I can afford things to do things with my wife and my daughter. Vulcan has been I told Dad the other day, it's kind of funny, people have said some things, and Vulcan has fed me for 30 years.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of loyal, partial.
Yeah.
But I said the same exact thing. I moved away. I'm not moving back to Scottsboro. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Everything I said I wasn't doing, I wasn't working at Vulcan for sure. I'm a sales rep for Vulcan for the last 6 years. And then, I've worked at Vulcan for 6 years. Not getting married. I've got a beautiful wife in Scottsboro. I'm not having kids. My one kid is could be 17 kids.
Yeah.
Like her, in her personality, she's depending on what day she wakes up. So I was in the very same boat. I told God I was not a believer whatsoever, but I told whoever was out there that I'm not going to do these things. And as I became a believer, he was like, hey, remember all that stuff you said you weren't going to do? You're going to do it, and you're going to do it and glorify me through it.
Isn't it great though?
Fair enough. Let's go.
Out of what we said we were never going to do, God has taken that and transformed it into our testimonies, into our lives, into possibly greater than we could have ever imagined. Doing the things that we said we never were going to do. It's crazy to me.
And I get enjoyment out of it. I get enjoyment out of the things I do. I never wanted to go back to school. I wanted to do a podcast, but I wanted to do things of and I'll still go into that with mental health and men's health and stuff like that. But I don't like speaking. I don't like being in front of crowds. Used to I wanted to be like a glamour thing. I wanted to be the star athlete, which I never was. I wanted to be, I wanted everybody to look at me, look how good he is. Look at all this stuff he's done. Now things are happening that I'm like the 20 for 40, under 40 thing. I really appreciate it, but this is I don't like the spotlight being on me. And then my uncle called me the other day and was like, hey, do you want to come speak at this addiction ministry night? Let me think about it. Let me pray about it. Let me talk to my wife. I would be doing a disservice if I didn't do this. But I don't want to be in front of speaking to people. All the things I don't want to do, the Lord's like, you're going to do it. And you're going to glorify me through it.
Right.
And I'm like, let's go.
And that's awesome.
That's it. But going back to you and Julia have just met. Y'all are in COVID years.
Yes.
Y'all are thinking about getting married, or y'all are set on getting married, but just
we're engaged.
logistically.
We're just, at the time, like I said, they were not allowing congregations of any type. Like you could not get together more than X amount of people, non-family.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were both, had a lot of friends in college. So we had, I think, 7 groomsmen and bridesmaids.
Pretty close to
7
my
or 8.
wife.
Yeah. And so we were like, well, can we not get together? How can we make this work? And we got married here at the church.
Okay.
We were going to, sorry, I got ahead of myself.
No,
we were going to get married in Gadsden at the First Baptist Church in Gadsden. Our reception was going to be at the country club in Gadsden. It was going to be, that's where she's from. That's where
big money.
Her dad was going to pay for it. But and then we were going to go to the Bahamas. Where did we say? It was on a cruise. I forget.
Yeah.
But anyway, all of that got shut down. The cruises all got canceled, or they said you can cancel and not get your deposit back, but if you pay all of the money and go through with it, we don't know if we're going to have the cruises or not. And so we didn't want to take the opportunity.
I will tell you the one good thing that COVID did. We went to Disney during COVID.
Ooh, I bet that was wonderful. Yeah.
Fantastic. It was 50% capacity, and you had to reserve what day you were going to what park.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Other than the dude I wanted to get in a fist fight with because he told me I had my mask off.
Yeah.
You could go over here and stand in this rope and take your mask off. But if I'm outside of said rope and all them people are huddled together, and if I'm outside of said rope, I can't take my mask off.
Yeah, some of that.
I digress. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hindsight's 20/20. Right?
Yes.
Like, we look back on some things like,
yeah.
But so anyway, we decided, well, hey, we wanted to get married anyway. We're in the middle of COVID. Let's not wait until July and hopefully they lift the ban, because we didn't know how long it was going to last. Nobody did. It was unprecedented time, right? That was the whole thing. But so we decided to get married in May. We set a date. It was May 15th of that year. We were going to get married here at the church with a small handful of people. I was going to be up by myself. She was going to be up by herself. We didn't have any groomsmen, bridesmaid or groomsmen. Groomsmen.
That's one of them.
The collective term.
It's one of them new words.
Yeah. Right. So, here we go.
Yeah,
don't give them any ideas.
Hey man, like this is the first podcast back in a while, and I'm already like almost about to get us like banned.
Yeah, right.
It's like blacklisted.
But so yeah, that's what we did. We got married. So we met in late December, or we re-met. We had met, but we started dating in late December. We got engaged in February. We got married in May, and then I will say very late June, early July, we found out we were pregnant. Yeah. And so things have moved in the matter of about 8 months. I went from living in a whole different town, having not a band director job, all the things, to moving back home, having band director job. I was married, now pregnant with a kid on the way.
Yeah.
So my life had flipped upside down.
Absolutely.
And it was around that time that my wife and I started coming back to church. Yeah. I think I was going to church because it was the thing that I knew I was supposed to do. If I'm going to be a father, if I'm going to be a husband, I have to take my wife to church. I have to take my family to church.
I was in the same boat.
Right. And so
at the same time,
around the same time. Yeah. And then I met Brian. We started engaging in the worship leading aspect, or playing in the praise band at that time. I wasn't worship leading. And I just remember as that started happening, I started listening to Ryan a little bit more. We met and started garnering a relationship and everything, friendship. There was a night, I couldn't tell you when, but there was a night when I was sitting at my desk at my computer, because I have my own computer built and everything. I love video gaming, but I was sitting there with it off. I was about to go to bed. My wife was asleep, pregnant, because she napped 18 out of 24 hours a day.
She slept the other hours, right?
Yes, exactly. So thank you for
my wife was
no shame.
We had this couch right here actually. So just a little context. We had a small sectional, and it was in the corner of our house there. And right in the corner my wife would sit because she was supported on both sides.
Right.
And of course she's pregnant. And I would come home and I would come in and I'd be like, huh, so you growing roots, huh? Like you've been there a while.
Brave for that one. You knew she couldn't get off the couch.
Yes,
that's why you kept saying it, right?
Yes. But I don't understand why she put up with me. But that's just, hey, that's how me and her get along. We fight back and forth, just jokingly.
Like bicker, yeah.
Yeah.
Julie and I do that too, yeah.
People look at us like, oh my goodness, did he say that? Like, I did. I did.
did.
Like, I don't like sleeping well at night. I like to be on edge. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so it was late at night. It had to have been past midnight. And I was sitting there with my computer off and I just was overwhelmed with thought.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself that night, I said, if I were to take myself and make my dad was me, right? If I were to become my dad, would I want me as my father, essentially? Yeah. And the only thing I could think of was no, absolutely not. You're a hypocrite. You're a liar. You do all these, like, you're still, maybe you're going to church, but you're not walking with Jesus. And that was, I don't think, I knew I was saved. I knew when I was saved. That night, though, was more of a transformative night in my trajectory. From that night forward, I started walking again with God. And we all have our ups and downs, but I can revert back to 2 points in my life, the one with Clay Weed in the youth room, and then that point.
Yeah.
Those were my 2 points where my trajectory changed, and maybe it changed course all the way, but then we got to that night at my computer desk and it changed again.
Yeah.
And then, Shepherd was born. We had a little boy named Shepherd, and he's also about worth 17 kids. But, and we've moved 4 times since he's been born. He's 4 years old. I'm tired of moving.
I think y'all are in a permanent residence now.
We are not. I told Julia, I said, you can bury me in the backyard. I am not moving again. For context, we just finished building a house. Yeah. We built on some family land. Mm-hmm. So like my mom and dad are...
Y'all got the compound.
Yes, we do.
And I'm 100% for it.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Love it.
When I was coming over here, I told my son Shepherd, I said, okay, go to Nana and Papa's. He goes, okay. And he ran across the yard 100 yards to my mom and dad's house, his grandma.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, it's wonderful. It's already paid for itself.
Man, I personally enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I'm still, even with family, I'm like, hey, call me before you come over.
Well, sure.
Like, even if we live right across the road here, call me.
Right. And I did. I called my mom. She knew he was supposed to be coming over.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, yesterday, just a funny story. Shepherd, we just got a new TV, and so he was building like a house with the cardboard boxes outside, and then he had got some Hot Wheels tracks and like was running them down. So Julia lets him outside. He was like, I want to go play with my cars. Okay. So he goes outside and he's playing with cars, and then about 10, 15 minutes later, Julia gets a call from my mom. Like, hey, did you know Shepherd's over here? No, I didn't. He had wandered over to their house just across the yard, and
stay inside the fence.
Right. Yeah.
That's I remember when I was a kid, it was like, hey, don't get in the road. Don't go past the tree line. Mm-hmm. Stay on this side of the creek. That's it. These are your parameters. Uh-huh. Don't mess up. But so we're still at North Jackson. Mm-hmm. You're still the band director.
I'm still there now. Yeah, I'm about to start. I just finished my 6th year. I'm about to start my 7th.
Okay. Now you went back to school, didn't you?
I did. I got a master's degree.
Okay.
I finished it in May of 2023.
Okay.
I got a master's in music education.
Yeah.
From William Carey University. It's a private Christian school in Mississippi.
Okay.
And I finished that up and got my pay raise.
Cha-ching.
Love that one. Just built a new house, hoping to have a lot of fellowship and ministry opportunities through it. That's what I told Julia. I said, if the Lord's blessed us with all of this house, I think we need to use it for His glory. And
absolutely.
That's one of the things I want to do. Just kind of like a side note. And then most recently, I was I don't want to say elected because that sounds weird.
I think you were more like voluntold.
It was a kind of like a recognition of my volunteering.
You've already been doing it. Like, let's just put a title on it.
Right. And that's kind of the way it happened for Brian too. Brian was not appointed. I keep wanting to use that word, but he was given the title of worship leader. Mm-hmm. And then I was given the title of assistant worship leader / music director.
Yes.
And that's going to become official this coming Sunday with Celebration Sunday that we have coming up. And I've been he's been worship leading, like Ryan said, he's 5 years into a 2-year term.
Yeah.
He was asked in 2020. Yeah.
It's just so wild to think back of like Pastor Ryan coming. I wasn't here for that. But then all these things like the 5 years that I've been going to church here, 4 or 5 years. I can't even remember the exact date. But just like all the crazy stories we've heard since then. And I enjoy it because, like I said, like y'all walking y'all's path here, we're walking our paths here, and we're all like intersecting towards Jesus. And it's awesome.
It is. I agree.
I personally love it. Let's see. How do you take music into your worship outside of church?
Yeah, and I always tell people, if you ever ask me, what are you listening to? Yeah. Just randomly throughout the day, I can tell you a song that's in my head.
Really?
Yes.
You're like Rain Man.
With less autism, maybe. Yes.
I would have been like, I'm like Rain Man with less smartness. Right. I got the one side, I didn't get the other. But no, I'm just kidding.
But no, I
totally trying to get us banned, man.
Yeah, we really are now. We'll have to chop up some of it. But no, music is with me everywhere I go. Yeah. If I'm driving anywhere, if I'm driving to the store and it takes 2 minutes, I have to have a song on. If I'm driving to work, I have songs on. You know, some people listen to podcasts, some people do audiobooks. I have to do music. I have tried so hard to do podcasts, podcasts, books, things like that. It doesn't hit the same with me as music does. I'm a big album guy. I like albums.
Are you? Okay. Yeah. So I tell Kristen all the time, because like before I came in a relationship with Jesus, I was all, and found out what biblical masculinity looked like. I was, hey, men don't cry, men deal with problems this way. You don't do anything. And I looked over at her. Wasn't this Sunday, they were out of town, but the Sunday before, and I don't even remember what y'all were playing. I think it was it wasn't Same God. I can't think. Not this weekend, but the weekend prior.
I wasn't here for that one, so I don't know.
Okay, so
I was out of town.
I don't remember what was being played, but I looked at her. I was like, I'm going to have a talk with Brian after this, because I am tired of crying every Sunday morning. And it's not a crying of sadness or a crying of hurt or anything like that. It's a cry of listening to the lyrics and being eternally grateful for the God we serve. Yeah. For the mercy he gave us and the atonement he gave us through Jesus. Like, it's just it's an over when, and we can go whatever, have whatever conversation you want. There is something about music that hits the soul. Like the vibration hits the soul that just, I don't know. I can't explain it. I'm not a music guy.
You know what that is?
Theory.
Music theory. Music theory. Exactly.
But there's something that the vibration of our cells and atoms that are moving versus the vibration of the worship of God, like there is something that interacts there.
I mean, music is one of the first things that was created. Yeah. When you think about, if you want to boil it down, waterfalls make sound. That's a music. And God says, if no human will, the rocks will cry out. Yeah. Birds sing to God.
Well, the first thing in creation, God spoke it into existence. Existence. And those are waves. Those are audible frequencies. And those things matter. The things you say matter.
And they mold you and they shape you.
Yes, they do.
Kind of the same thing we were talking about earlier is like, if you're around it, it's going to mold you.
Yes.
You're going to get conditioned to it.
Absolutely.
Same thing with what you say.
Absolutely. So I guess a better question would be, how do you use your skills and your talents to glorify God?
Yeah. Part of the way I use it is, of course, on Sunday mornings. And I'm a part of the praise band. I have been for, 4 years now, I guess. Yeah. That's my primary source. I'm starting to branch out and find other groups to play with and think. Yeah. Not that what I do on Sunday mornings isn't important, but it's also, I want to be able to share the gift that God has given me with everybody, or with not everybody, with as many people as I can. And I mean, I've used my musical gifts to make a career out of it, and I get to pour into the lives of my kids at school. Yeah, every day, and 180 days, whatever it is, But I mean,
part timers. Okay, like me and my wife's a teacher, I give her a hard time all the time. But like, if you actually calculate the time, like, y'all are actually overpaid. And I'm just kidding.
Man, I don't know
open up a can of worms.
Yeah, you don't want to.
No,
but yeah, I get to pour into these kids, and through band and through music, just like you were talking about, you end up building deeper relationships because of it, because you have something relatable that both of you, it's a goal that both parties, whatever it may be, are working towards.
Yeah.
And that builds a deeper connection, a deeper bond. And so I'm supremely close with some of my kids. I still keep up with the kids that were there my first year.
Yeah.
You know, I still talk to some of them, and they still come up to me. And you know, I try not to say that to boast, but it's like I get to, like, I had a kid, one of my first kids I ever taught. He came up to me and he said, "Hey, I just want to let you know, a couple weeks ago I went and I'm going to church. I gave my life to Christ." And he was comfortable enough to tell me that.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, dude, that's terrific. Keep at it. If you need anything, call me.
That's
And I tell all my kids that. I'm like, hey, when they graduate, I'm like, hey, if you ever need me, you call me.
Yes.
Because there is going to be some times, hopefully there's not, but if there ever is a time where you feel like you can't call your parents, you can't call a relative or whatever, you can call me.
Yeah.
I tell every one of my graduating seniors that, because I want them to know somebody's in their court.
That's it. That's absolutely right.
And it's like, and I wouldn't have had, I only have that close-knit relationship because of music, because of band, and because I've developed that throughout the years. Most of the time you have a teacher for a year and then you move on, right? But these kids have had me, some of them since 6th grade now.
Yeah.
So I've had them 6-7 years.
I think that goes into one of the things Ryan said a couple weeks ago. What you live out and how you live out your faith may be the only Bible somebody gets to read.
Yep.
Like, you may be the only example of Christ that somebody gets to see. So that goes back to you extending that to somebody of like, hey, no matter what the circumstances are, if you need somebody, call me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to say you're right or you're wrong, but I'm going to be there to help you. And we can always work through a problem. I find that it is very rare nowadays.
It is.
A lot of people are just in it for, hey, what can I get out of it?
Mm-hmm.
So that genuine soul, and this is me speaking to your students, if they're listening to this, that there's not a lot of people like that in the world. And they're rarer and rarer every day. Yep. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for your friendship, and thankful for Julia's friendship.
Yeah.
She cracks me up. Dude. Between her and Nita, whenever we get together, good grief. Good people, though. Good people.
And if I can just take a second and say that I tell my wife this, but I publicly want her to know that I am so appreciative of her. I tell her all the time that she's given me the life that I once dreamed of. And I would not be the man I am today without the wife I have. I know that to be a fact. She's helped mold me just as much as anybody else ever has. Now, are there days that I want to wring her neck? Sure. Are there days that she wants to wring my neck? Absolutely, you know.
But what would be more, less days of her not, or her wanting to?
Well, she probably wants 2 more times than not. We'll say that. You know.
And that's the same thing with me. Now, I've said it multiple times, but it never gets old. Chris, and I would be, without a doubt, there's no inkling in my brain, if Kristen wasn't in my life, I would be dead.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt. I was already spiritually dead. I would not be here where I'm sitting and on the platform I have and doing all the things that we talked about at the 20 for 40, and I got voted in as a deacon, and I'm speaking on this addiction night. None of that would have happened if I did not have her in my corner and the godly woman she was. See, she's going to give you credit for me saying that.
No, that was all you. I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you. No. I won't tell her that you told me you were going to say that.
Wink, wink. No. It is very important to have a good helper.
It is, and I think we're beyond blessed to have 2 wonderful wives in our lives.
Yeah.
And 2 wonderful, I have a son, you have a daughter, but 2 wonderful kids. You know, it's funny how, you were saying how similar our trajectories have been.
Yeah.
Like, we were running in parallel, and now we're, it's just, we have very similar lives and
testimonies.
Yeah, it's similar in a way.
Yeah, and I find that very interesting. Of course, I actually have since I am now going to school for clinical mental health, I have now found a term for the way I like to think about things.
Okay.
It's a psychodynamic. It is the thought process of finding out the interactions and the thoughts and decisions you made that lead up to now.
Okay.
And that is the psychodynamic therapy.
Okay.
I find that is my type. That is my niche. I like that. So everything we've done, everything we've said, everything we've ingested, it has all led us to here.
Yeah.
To be what we are. And all the different testimonies I've heard, if you look at them broad scope, I was lost. I had a moment. I was saved. Now I want to live my life for Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's different nuances and different details. Overarching story, we're all going through the same life together.
Yeah.
We all need to help one another. We all need to be there for one another. And I think that's something that the devil uses is you're the only one that has this problem. You're the only one that's ever went through this.
He wants to isolate because when you get isolated, that's when I'm all by myself.
Yep.
There's nobody here for me.
Yep.
When in reality, it's kind of like what I was saying when I would come back to church and people would ask me and talk to me and stuff. That wasn't them singling me out. That was them trying to bring me in.
Yeah.
But the devil he's tricky.
Yeah.
And he was, no, you're doing this by yourself. I can't believe you're the only person who have ever had a failed proposal or blah, blah, blah. Right? Like, yeah, that's exactly. I've never heard it put into terms that way, but that's exactly what was happening.
Yeah. And hey, another little thought process I heard the other day, it's Isaiah, and it says the devil is like a roaring lion, prowling like a roaring lion, waiting to kill, steal and destroy. Sorry, I got tongue tied there.
That's okay.
So, but then it says that, so you think the word like, it is like something. It is similar. It may look like it. It may sound like it, but it's not it.
Yeah.
But then you look over where it says Jesus is the Lion of Judah. So you can be like the lion all you want to, but Jesus is the lion. And there's so many things that's why when we first started this podcast, one of the main things we hit on was you don't have to know all the counterfeits. Another little thing about counterfeit money. The people who study counterfeit money do not study the counterfeit. They study the real thing, the authentic thing.
Yeah.
They can know it so intimately well that they can spot the other one. They don't know what's wrong with it, but they know it's not the real thing. That us as Christians, we should study the Bible and God's Word intimately that, hey, I don't know, I can't figure out what's wrong with that, but I know it's not the real thing. I know it's fake.
Yeah.
I don't need to know why it's fake or what about it is fake, but I know what the real thing is, and I've studied it. It's in my heart, and I'm walking it daily.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know. I don't need to dabble in this. I don't need to figure out what's wrong with it. I just know, hey, that ain't right.
That ain't it. Yeah.
So
that's good. I've never heard that.
Yeah, I never heard that.
No.
I've made that. Not me. We've made that parallel before, and I'm a catchphrase.
Yeah.
Not necessarily catchphrase, but like one-liners. I love one-liners. Like I love little small, I guess would be parables kind of things.
Sure,
like those things help me.
Well, they're easy to ingest. They're easy to remember.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you want something that has repeatability.
I can spit it out to other people like, hey, this is what this means. Like you can remember this small thing, but it will help. Yes, it will help you remember this, and I enjoy those.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I'm a simple guy, man. I'm simple.
I think when you were talking about all of us are on the trajectory of we're all coming together. I think all men are just at heart we're just simple creatures.
Simple creatures.
We can eat and sleep. We'll be all right.
Man, it's a trip, man, and I'm incredibly thankful that the journey I have been on and you've been on, that we've been able to, I don't want to say collide, but come together.
Yeah.
I really value your friendship.
Yeah.
The times we get to talk and hang out, and of course Julia being my quote unquote boss,
kind of
sort of not
really.
Boss, yeah. I don't have to listen to her.
You don't have to.
What's she gonna do? Fire me?
Yeah.
You're right.
She's already done that to once.
I digress.
We won't talk about that.
That's let her talk about that story.
Yeah, right.
That's a big one. But hey, I really appreciate the conversation, and thank you for pushing to get this started back up.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to take credit for this at all. Like Julia had said something, you mentioned about it, and I said, hey, let's go. I mean, why not? And we need to get Ricky on. I just like the way he sounds sometimes.
Yeah. If we get him to slow down some and instead of blob all of his words together, we'll be okay. I mean, he has a tendency to speak real fast and real slow. That's my dad.
Well, he gets up there and sings. I look at Chris, I'm like, he's serenading me.
Yeah.
But hey, how about you pray us out tonight? Yeah. And we'll end tonight.
Sounds great.
Go ahead.
God, I thank you for allowing me and Jonathan to be here tonight and just talk about life stories that boil down to you, God, that you've led us to and led us through. God, I thank you for our friendship and what it means, and that we can get on here and speak open and freely about you, God, that we can, not be fearful of persecution or, anything like that, God, that we can come freely and just be in your presence, God. And as we go our separate ways tonight, God, just keep us safe. And we love you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Well, guys, I really appreciate y'all joining us today. And I'm sorry that it took so long to, get another podcast back out. Like I said, I thank you, Matt, for kicking the wheels there and getting it rolling. But for me, this is Jonathan.
And this is Matt.
Hey, thank you for joining us for another episode of Real Life with Christ.
Since when has impossible ever stopped you? Friday's disappointment, Sunday's empty tomb. Since when has impossible ever stopped you? This is the sound of dry bones